Hi there, my name is Brent Smith, and I'm the Common Constitutionalist, and welcome to a special edition, Thursday edition of the Common Constitutionalist, weekday video podcast. So like I said the last time I did a special Thursday video podcast, sometimes I just get so ticked off that I need to emote on camera, something that I can't do on paper. Some great novelists can do that. They can paint the mental picture like you're actually there. I'm not a great novelist. I'm not even a great writer. But at any rate, I get by. I'm okay. But sometimes you just get so ticked off. Like I said, you just got to do this on video and just mental diarrhea, for want of a better term. So I'm going to be talking about the WHO is as useless as the rest of the United Nations. See you after this break. You're watching the Common Constitutionalist video podcast, special weekday edition. Okay, welcome back. The World Health Organization, WHO, is completely worthless outfit. So says my notes. So it must be true. It's on paper. It must be true, right? Like the New York Times. You can't believe a word they write or speak. Frankly, not a single word. And if they tell you that the sky is blue, you better look up to check, okay? If they tell you that Eastern Standard Time, it's X time, you better check your watch. That's all I'm saying. We've known for, well, forever about the UN, how they, in this particular case, they're pro-China. They've always been anti-American. They've always been anti-Israel. They're anti-freedom sellouts, basically. And for that, we get to underwrite, as we all know, both the United Nations budget and the WHO budget, the World Health Organization budget. It's a great deal for the United States if we're a bunch of chumps, which for decades and decades we have been a bunch of chumps, up until Trump just said, you know what, these guys are idiots, we're cutting them off. Hooray for you, President Trump. So, but like I said, for years, we're the ones that have been the idiots, not them. Now, regarding this virus, the WHO, the World Health Organization, made a conscious decision to side with China, basically to carry China's water. The WHO has become the puppet of the Chinese Communist government, and its Director General, I'm going to give this a shot, I guarantee I won't pull this name off, Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, bibbidi bobbidi boo, has become Xi Xing Ping's personal marionette, and he has. He's the Director General of the WHO, and when you hear this guy talk, you'll know that he's towing the Chinese line and only the Chinese line. There ain't nothing honest about it. It's absurd. So, but it's not just the director that's pro-China. Quote, China reported and isolated all individuals with laboratory-confirmed COVID-19, Christian Lindmeier, a WHO spokesperson, said in mid-March. And obviously that was a bold-faced lie. Now, we've got to assume that they knew that this was a bold-faced lie, but they're just towing China's line, as it were. WHO epidemiologist Bruce, I guess it's Aylward, something like that, who headed a visit to China around that same time, boldly exclaimed in an interview that China was not hiding anything. Really. Really. So how did this happen, you ask? How did the WHO become so pro-China? Okay. Well, that's a hell of a good question you asked. Allow me to answer, at least to some extent. First, the WHO is part of the United Nations, okay? That should give you a clue right off of the bat. As I alluded to already, the UN is a collection of nations that basically hate the United States and they hate Israel. They hate freedom as a general rule. Because most of the countries that are represented in the United Nations they're the opposite of freedom. Just say it. Antithetical, whatever. If there's ever any opportunity to side with tyrants, communists, fascists against the United States or Israel, the W.H.O. and basically just the United Nations will jump at the chance, and they don't care who they have to get in bed with to do that. As long as it's anti-United States or anti-Israel, they don't care. It just advances that particular agenda. Everything about the UN, the United Nations as a whole, is anti-capitalist, it's anti-freedom, it's pro-socialist, it's pro-communist, and they suck, literally on every single level and at everything that they do. Okay? They've never accomplished anything but screwing up the world, and they suck at everything. And their heart's not even in the right place. I mean, not with leftists, not with hard leftists, these people that really, but with liberals, at least, you know, they think their heart's in the right place, and they're kind of doing it for others. That's the old liberals. Now, there aren't many of them left, unfortunately. You know, it's like Joe Lieberman, who basically retired. He got out of politics because he couldn't stand it, because the liberal party that he once knew left him in the dust and went full-on socialist / communist, if you know what I mean. But considering where that the UN was the original brainchild of Woodrow Wilson, the League of Nations, frankly, what do we expect from a guy like Woodrow Wilson? The guy was a tyrant in its own right. Communists, fascists, thugs, tyrants, globalists, whatever, you name it. They're in the United Nations, and then here we are, and here Israel is, and a few other freedom-loving state or nations, and that's about it, really. So just look as one example, and this is just a single example of the UN, which encompasses a lot of different little thug organizations. Look who they elect and have elected just over the past few years to the Human Rights Council. Now listen, remember, Human Rights Council, okay? Human rights. Libya, the Sudan, Venezuela, okay? China, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Qatar, and any number of fascist, communist, socialist, Islamist states. That's who they've elected to the Human Rights Council? Really? I think Cuba was part of that also for one time. Really? Cuba? Human rights. Venezuela? China? Human rights. Okay, all right then. So, back to the WHO. So the next time the WHO comes firmly in defense of China, now you kind of have an idea of why. Because they hate the United States and they love everything totalitarian. Because they're globalists, they want to control the world. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. On the other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit more about the lovely WHO. And boy, howdy, is it getting windy and freaking cold out. What the hell? Oh well. You're watching the Common Constitutionalist Video Podcast, special weekday edition. Okay, I'm back. And it's, all of a sudden, it just, whoop, think we'll get cold. So anyway, and I drove around. I still need a haircut. It's driving me crazy. I drove around for an hour today. Took an hour off today at work. Left early or earlier, and just drove around to a couple of places like barbershops and other places that I thought might be open anyway. Nope, not a single soul. So I don't know what the crap I'm going to do about getting a haircut, but it's driving me crazy. Crazy. Any rate, so let's get back to it. Okay, but at least through this process, there's been a few eyes that have been opened of the Chinese WHO connection, United Nations, and things like that. It is freaking cold. Man, springtime in New England, yay team. And, okay, Marieke Olberg from the Berlin-based Mercator Institute for China Studies, said she was surprised by the very uniformity of this narrative. Basically, everybody said the same thing about Janet. Olberg said the statements of the WHO have clearly been Captain Obvious, have clearly been heavily influenced by the Chinese Communist Party. She says she was surprised that, from the start, many experts uncritically repeated information from Beijing and, quote, preached confidence in the WHO and the Chinese government, unquote. Welcome aboard, Ms. Olberg, to the good ship reality. Okay? Thank you, and welcome aboard. However, Osman Dar, global health expert at Public Health England and the Royal Institute of International Affairs, hate to see his business card. Hope I hope they don't charge by the letter. Get what I'm saying? Said that China is no different from other countries that seek to exert influence. Oh, really? They're no different. Okay? Here's the difference. When there's anything that goes wrong in the world, a natural disaster or something like that around the world, who's the first nation to show up? With help, with supplies, with manpower, with ships, with planes, with everything. We fly it in, the foodstuffs, the water, everything. Who does that? The good old United States of America. That's who does that. And we swoop in with all sorts of aid and whatnot. And it doesn't, frankly, it doesn't even matter what country it is. They could love us or they could hate us. Most hate us because they're all jealous of us. That's just the way it goes. And we help them anyway. That's the point. We never ask, can we help? We just rush in there and help. We do what we can. We rescue people. We give them aid and whatnot. And then, frankly, we rarely, if ever, receive anything back from our trouble, including a thank you. The population might thank us, but normally the governments don't even say, you know what, you didn't have to do that. Thank you. What can we do for you? What can Brown do for you today? No, I'm kidding. All right, so but that's what America does, okay? Now for the flip side, Director Tedros, the dude that I can't pronounce, the WHO Director General, he's Ethiopian. And as luck would have it, or not luck would have it, his country is destitute and it's heavily in debt. As of, frankly, most African nations are in the same boat. Well, Tedros went to Xi, or Xi came to Tedros and said, let me help you out, Xi Xing. I guess that would be, I don't know, whatever. That would be Japanese, sorry. I'm sorry. So, one or the other went to the other. Tedros went to Xi, Xi went to Tedros and said, also, let me help you out. And the generous communist overlord, Xi Xing Ping, lent Tedros a crap load of money to pay off a bunch of debt and to make some improvements in his country. And there was way too much money for the Ethiopians to ever pay back. So basically the bottom line is now Tedros, as from Ethiopia, also head of the general director or head of the WHO, the World Health Organization, is heavily indebted to Xi Jinping of China and the Chinese Communist government. Why do you think he's carrying the water for Xi Jinping? That's why. That's exactly why. So we go in to help other nations, and they usually crap on us. They spit on our faces. They call us baby killers or whatever the crap it is, and we still help them because we're good people. Xi Jinping goes in, helps Ethiopia, and says, What can Ethiopia do for me? Well, son of a gun, if Tedros doesn't happen to be the general director of the World Health Organization, that's what you can do for me. You can lie your ass off for me to the world about the coronavirus and how wonderful, what a great job we did on it. That's the difference between America and China, and the difference between an organization that might care and the WHO or the freaking United Nations. That's the damn difference. That's a huge difference, don't you think? And so, bottom line is, that's why it is what it is. That's why the WHO is carrying the water. Because Tedros is heavily indebted, his nation is heavily indebted to Xi Xing Ping and the communist Chinese, and there you go. And that's what they do. They swoop in, they help the helpless, or the people that need the help, and then they ask for favors in return like the frickin' mafia. That's that. So, I guess that's all I got to say on that particular topic. I hate the WHO. I hate the United Nations. The United Nations needs to leave the United States, and the United States needs to get the crap out of the United Nations and wash its hands of every dirty little pygmy dictatorship that's involved in the United Nations or the WHO. They are completely and utterly useless. That's about all I got. Other than that, I ain't got nothing strong to say about it. This is Brent Smith. I'm the common constitutionalist. My gosh, it's cold out here. What the frick, man? Signing off. See ya on Sunday when I do my regular podcast, if I haven't frozen to death on this park bench. See ya.